Hello and welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture, we will use Terraform to deploy this website on an EC2 instance in our default VPC. To start, I want you to create a folder anywhere on your computer. I'll create the folder on my desktop, so I'll right click in here. I'll select New, Folder. I'm going to give the folder a name and I'll call it TechMax Website. Once you've given the folder a name, press Enter. Once you've created your folder, the next thing I want you to do is open Visual Studio Code. Once you open Visual Studio Code, the next thing we will do is open the folder we just created. To open the folder, I'll select the Explorer here, and I'm going to select Open Folder. Then browse to the location where you saved the folder. The folder is on my desktop. I'll select Desktop, and this is the folder, TechMax Website. I'll select it. Once you select the folder, click Select Folder. We have opened the project folder in Visual Studio Code and you can see it here. I'm going to close this. The next thing I want you to do is create a file in this folder and call that file EC2.tf. To create a file in this folder, you can either click this button here to create a new file, or you can right click in this space and select New File. Give the file a name. I'll call it EC2.tf. Once you've given the file a name, press Enter. Once you have created your Terraform file, the next thing I want you to do is download and open the reference file I created for this project in this video's description. This is the reference file we will use to complete this project. And in this reference file, I have included the resource type and arguments we need to create our resources. The next thing I want you to do is select everything in this reference file. To select everything, I'm going to press Ctrl A. Then I'm going to right click to copy it. Once you have copied it, close the reference file and come back to your ec2.tf file and paste that syntax in there. Once you've pasted the syntax, scroll up. These are the syntax we will use to complete this project. And starting at the top, we will use the first syntax to authenticate with our AWS environment. Before you can create any resource in your AWS environment, first you have to authenticate. And this syntax here will allow you to authenticate with your AWS environment. If you don't know how to write the syntax to authenticate to your AWS environment, I already created a video on how to authenticate to your AWS environment. I will leave a link to that lecture in this video's description. To authenticate with your AWS environment, first you have to specify provider, and the cloud provider we are authenticating to is AWS. The first argument is region, and this is the region we want to create our resources in. For this project, we will create our resource in US East 1. So in double quotes, type US East 1 in here. The next argument is profile, and this is a profile I have configured on my computer that contains the access key ID and secret access key that I will use to authenticate to my AWS environment. If you don't know how to configure a named profile on your computer, I already did a video on it and I'll leave a link to that lecture in this video's description. The named profile that I configured on my computer to authenticate with my AWS environment, I called it Terraform user. So I'll type that name in here in double quotes. Once you typed your name profile, the next syntax will create a default VPC in your account. This is the resource type to create a default VPC. And how this syntax works is, if there's a default VPC in your account, Terraform will not create another default VPC. But if you don't have a default VPC in your account, Terraform will use this syntax to create a default VPC. So anytime you are creating a project in Terraform and you need to reference your default VPC, this is the resource type to reference your default VPC. For this syntax, the only argument we have to enter is our tag. And for the tag name, I'll call it default VPC. The next syntax will allow us to use data source to get all the availability zone in the region where we are creating our resources. For example, we are creating our resource in US East 1, and this syntax will allow us to get all the availability zone in US East 1. So whatever region you have entered here, this syntax will allow you to get all the availability zone in that region. Just like the default VPC, this next syntax will create a default subnet in our account. So if you already have a default subnet in your account, Terraform would not create another one. But if you don't have a default subnet, Terraform will use this syntax to create a default subnet in your account. This is the subnet we will launch our EC2 instance in. This is the resource type to create a default subnet in your account, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument we will enter is the availability zone. Remember, we are using this syntax up here to get a list of all the availability zones in our account. So to specify the availability zone we want to create our subnet in, we are going to copy this up here, copy everything, then paste it here. Remove the double quotes here, add a period, come here, remove the double quotes, add another period, then come all the way to the end, remove the quotes, add a period, and type names. Once you type names, type a bracket and type 0. When you type 0 in here, this is called indexing. For example, if there are 4 availability zones in the region where you are creating your VPC, when you type 0 here, you are telling Terraform to select the first availability zone from the list. If you change this number to 1, you are telling Terraform to select the second availability zone from the list. And if you change this number to 2, you are telling Terraform to select the third availability zone from the list. So that is what this means. It is called indexing. I'm going to leave it as 0. The next argument we will enter is the tags. And for the tag name, I'll call it default subnet. The next syntax will create the security group for the EC2 instance. This is the resource type to create a security group, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument we will enter is the name for our security group, and I've given it a name here. The second argument is the description, and I've entered the description here. The third argument we will enter is the VPC ID, and this is the ID of the VPC we want to create this security group in. Remember, we created our VPC up here. So what we have to do is copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back down, paste it here, remove the quotes, come here, remove the double quotes between them, add a period, then come all the way to the end, remove the quotes, add another period and type ID. The next argument we will enter is the ingress rules. And these are the ports we want to open on this security group. I've entered the description here for the first one, and this is going to open port 80. So for the description, I've entered HTTP access. This HTTP access rule will allow users on the internet to access our website. For the from port, we are going to enter 80. For the to port, we will enter 80. The protocol is going to be TCP, in double quotes, type TCP. And for the CIDR blocks, the traffic is going to come from anywhere on the internet. So in here, we are going to enter a bracket. And in that bracket, we are going to type in double quotes 0.0.0.0/0. When you type 0.0.0.0/0, this means that traffic is coming from anywhere on the internet. The next ingress rule will allow us to SSH into our EC2 instance. And for the description, I have entered SSH access. For the from port, we will enter 22. For the to port, we will enter 22. For the protocol, we will enter TCP. And for the CIDR blocks, we will enter a bracket. Remember, anytime you open SSH port, you should always limit it to your IP address. So what I want you to do is enter your IP address here. If you don't know how to get your IP address, I'll show you a quick way to get it. Go to the Management Console. In the Management Console, type EC2 in the search box and select EC2 under Services. On the EC2 Management Console, launch a new EC2 instance. Click Launch Instance and click Launch Instance again. On this page, to launch an EC2 instance, scroll down. Under Network Settings, this is where you create your security group. And for this security group you see here, or any security group, all you have to do is select this drop down and select My IP. And this will list your IP address here. What I want you to do is copy this information and enter it for your CIDR block. I'm going to cancel. And I'll go back to my Terraform file. In here, I'm going to enter my IP address information in double quotes. Once you've entered your IP address, scroll down. The next rule is the egress rule. And for the from port, we will enter 0. For the to port, we will enter 0. For the protocol, we will enter -1. And for the CIDR blocks, it is going to be anywhere on the internet, which is 0.0.0.0/0. In a bracket, type 0.0.0.0/0. The next argument we will enter is the tags, and for the tag name, call it EC2 Security Group. To launch the EC2 instance, we will use an Amazon Linux 2 AMI, and this is the Terraform syntax to select an Amazon Linux 2 AMI. I got this syntax from the Terraform documentation, and everything you need is here. Scroll down. In this next syntax, this is where we will launch our EC2 instance. This is the resource type to launch an EC2 instance, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument is the AMI we want to use to launch this EC2 instance. Remember, the AMI is up here. So what we will do is copy this information here. Once you copy it, come here and paste it there. Then remove the quotes, add a period, remove the quotes here, add another period, remove the quotes at the end, add a period and type ID. The next argument we will enter is the instance type, and the instance type is going to be T2 micro. The next argument is the subnet ID, and this is the subnet we want to create our EC2 instance in. Remember, we created our subnet up here, so I'll scroll up. This is the resource we use to create our default subnet. So copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back down and paste it in here. Remove the double quotes between them, add a period, then come all the way to the end, add another period and type ID. The next argument is the VPC security group IDs, and this is the ID of our security group that we want to attach to this EC2 instance. Remember, we created our security group up here. So copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back down. In here, first enter a bracket, then paste it in there. Once you've pasted it, remove the quote at the end, add a period and type ID. Then remove the quote here too and type a period there. This is how we reference the ID of our security group. The next argument is a key pair, and this is the key pair we will use to SSH into our EC2 instance. Make sure you already have a key pair in your AWS account. For example, if I go to the Management Console. In my EC2 Management Console, I'll scroll down. Under Network and Security, select Key Pairs. I already have a key pair in my AWS account. This is the key pair I will use. So I'll select it and copy it. Then I'll come back to my Terraform file. In double quotes, I'll paste the name of my key pair in there. The next argument is user data, and we use user data to run all the commands that we will use to install our website. Remember in the lecture where we manually deploy this website on an EC2 instance. These are the commands we use to install this website on that EC2 instance. And now that we want to use Terraform to deploy the same website, the user data argument will run all these commands for us to install the website. To enter these commands in the user data argument, we will use a file. So what I want you to do is in your Terraform project folder, let's create a new file here. I'll right click in here. I'll select new file. Give the file a name, and you can give the file any name you want. Just make sure you have .sh at the end. I'll call the file install website. Once you type the name of your file, type .sh at the end and press enter. Once you have created the file, the next thing I want you to do is copy all these commands. I'm going to select them. I'll right click to copy. I'm going to minimize this. And in the file you just created, paste the command in there. Once you've pasted the command, I'm going to save the file. I'll select file and I'm going to select save all. Then close this file by clicking this X button. Now that we have created the file that contains the command that will install our website, we will reference the file here. To reference the file, we will type file, parentheses, double quotes, and the name of the file. The name of my file is installwebsite.sh. I'm going to type it in here. Make sure you type the name of your file in here exactly how you entered it up here. Once you have entered the file name, the next argument is tags, and give it a tag name. When we launch the EC2 instance, the last syntax here will print the EC2 instance's IPv4 address. To print the attribute of any resource, we use output. Once you have specified output, you give the output a name. You can call it any name you want. And for the value, we are going to reference the EC2 instance. So let's scroll up to where we create the EC2 instance here, copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, we're going to paste it here. Remove the double quotes, type a period, come all the way to the end, type another period, and the attribute we want to reference is the public IP. So here, type public IP. Make sure you type it exactly how you see it on my screen. It is public_IP. This is all we need to do to write our Terraform syntax. This syntax will launch an EC2 instance in our default VPC and install the website on it. The next thing I want you to do is scroll all the way up. Then save your file. I'm going to select File and select Save All. Once you've saved your file, the next thing we will do is open the terminal. Select Terminal up here and select New Terminal. Once you have opened the terminal, the first command we will type is Terraform init. Once you type Terraform init, press enter. Terraform init will authenticate with our AWS environment. There you go. Terraform has successfully initialized with our AWS environment. The next command we will type is Terraform apply to create our EC2 instance and install our website. Once you type Terraform apply, press enter. When you type Terraform apply and press enter, the first thing Terraform will do is show you the plan, and the plan contains what Terraform will do in your AWS account. Here you can see Terraform is telling me it will create these resources in my AWS account. These are the same resources I specified on my template. So once you have reviewed the plan and you are happy with everything, it is asking you, do you want to perform these actions? Type yes. Once you type yes, press enter. There you go. Terraform is now launching the EC2 instance in my AWS account, and it is going to use the bash script here to install the website. Give it some time to finish creating the resources. There you go. After 41 seconds, Terraform has successfully launched my EC2 instance. This is the ID of the EC2 instance, and this is the public IPv4 address of the EC2 instance that we printed on the screen. The next thing I want us to do is go into the management console. In the management console, I'm going to go to my EC2 dashboard. I'm going to refresh. And there you go. You can see I have one EC2 instance running. I'll select it. You can see the EC2 instance Terraform just created here. The status check is still initializing. Give it some time to pass the status check. And once it passes the status check, we will select the EC2 instance here, copy the public IPv4 address, and we will use it to access our website. My EC2 instance has passed the status check. The next thing I want you to do is select it here, copy the public IPv4 address again, then open the web browser, paste the public IPv4 address in there, and press enter. And there you go, we can access our website. This is how we use Terraform to deploy a static website on an EC2 instance. Once you have checked your EC2 instance to make sure the website is working, the next thing we will do is terminate the EC2 instance. Go back to your Terraform file. To terminate the EC2 instance, we will type Terraform destroy in the terminal. Once you type Terraform destroy, press enter. When you type Terraform destroy and press enter, first it is going to show you the plan, and the plan contains what Terraform would do. So here Terraform is showing you it is going to delete these resources from your AWS account. Once you have reviewed the plan and you are happy with it, here it is asking you, do you really want to destroy all resources? We will type yes and press enter. There you go. Terraform is now terminating the EC2 instance and deleting all the resources it created in my AWS account. I'll give it some time to finish deleting all the resources. This is how we use Terraform to launch an EC2 instance and install a static website on the EC2 instance. If you want to learn how to build applications in AWS infrastructure using Terraform, you can watch the entire project here, and I have included the link to the project in this video's description. If you have any questions or there's any part of this lecture you don't understand, please leave your comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.